What is up, Super Fam and Bro Vengers alike? I am Sensei Finito, aka Vane Sensei, and welcome to Marvel Bros, where we discuss all things Marvel and everything pop culture. And today we're going to be talking about Loki Season 2. I'm excited and I hope you are too. Yo, Loki Season 2 was amazing, and I am really excited to be able to talk about the cool things that were going on this season. So, with all that being said, if you guys haven't already, make sure you follow us on social media at Sensei Finito to stay up to date. Well, at Marvel Bros, excuse me, to stay up to date with all the things that we post on there every single day. And you can also follow me on social media at Sensei Finito to stay up to date with all my thoughts, theories, and opinions about whatever particular thing we may be partaking in at that particular time, if you do so feel so particular. Is that right? Bam. Oh, I thought that would have been right. Oh. Okay. I see. Okay, my bad, y'all. You know, I'm still trying to get everything all situated over here for this new PC that I got going on. All right. Bam! Follow us on Marvel Bros to stay up to date with all things Marvel and everything pop culture. Follow me on social media at Sensei Finito to stay up to date with all my thoughts, theories, and opinions on whatever particular thing I may be partaking in. And then, of course, you can also check us out on wherever you listen to your podcast to stay up to date with our weekly podcast, which is all of our Marvelous Mondays are going up on the podcast accounts and sites and stuff now. So if you're if you got Spotify, you got Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of that stuff, you can go and look up Marvel Bros and you'll be able to stay up to date with all the stuff that we talking about on these awesome, marvelous Mondays. If you guys have seen Loki Season 2, let me get a 1 in the chat. If you have not seen Loki Season 2, let me get a 2 in the chat. And if you're in the middle of Loki Season 2, let me get a 3, because I love me some Loki. I am not gonna lie to you. Loki is definitely one of my favorite shows that is on Disney Plus. One of the only Disney Plus shows to currently have 2 seasons as well. And I think all of it is amazing. Loki Season 2 was just a blast. From the past, you feel me? Pun intended. And it was just a really good, amazing, fun, grandiose time across the board, and I was ready for it. Loki. Did you like Loki Season 2? Yes? No? Oh, I forgot I can't do all the poll stuff from this chat. That's my bad. Let's see. Let's start that poll. Did you enjoy Loki Season 2? Let's get the poll going for you guys. Yes, no, maybe. There we go. Start poll. Alrighty, yo. So we're gonna talk about Loki Season 2 a little bit, and we're also going to check out. I'm pretty sure Man of Recaps has probably done a Loki Season 2 recap, basically. Let's see. Man of Recaps. Okay. Oh, whoa, Man of Recaps hasn't done Loki Season 2 yet? Yo, what? Is bruh okay? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Alright. Wow, he really hasn't. Interesting. But I'm excited for. I'm excited to talk about Loki season 2. I'm really excited to talk about Loki and all. We're gonna be nerding out. We're gonna be talking about a lot of these different things that have been going on for this show, yes, for this show, and some of the implications that it creates for the rest of the MCU, and more things along the lines of that. I know I'm a little behind on Loki. We're going to be playing a little bit of catch up for a little while, not a long while, but just a little while. So, hopefully, you know, yeah. I don't know, hopefully what, but hopefully something. Oh, Snizzle Fritz and Taco Chacos. Let's see. Okay. Man, it's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that much. It's been a long, long day for me. I don't know if it's been a long day for y'all, but it's been a super duper long day. Okay. My bad. I'm here. We're locked in. Loki season 2. I'll just give my kind of rough spoiler-free opinions on it, I guess, and then we'll get into all the spoilers after we watch the the recap. And then maybe we could do what's it called? Rockstar's breakdown of the season finale. Yeah, that'll probably be the strat right there. So, first, to say my quick review of Loki season 2, I loved it. For lack of better words. Oh, hold on, my bad. 1 second. See, I'm slipping right now. I'm slipping. There we go. I loved Loki season 2, for lack of better words. It was amazing. I was enthralled the entire time from start to finish. I truly think that Loki season 1 and season 2 are super pivotal parts to the entirety of the multiverse saga, and it is laughable, hilarious, comical to me that on one hand people are saying that the multiverse saga is not the way to go, and then the thing that is literally being like the multiverse saga is being built off of is everyone's favorite property. So it's kind of hilarious to me that people can say those things in one breath, and it's like, yeah, bro, we are in a whole nother time when it comes to the multiverse and all the things going on. The Jonathan Majors situation is something that can probably be talked about a little bit towards the end of the stream. This isn't going to be a Jonathan Majors focused thing about the trial or any of that type of stuff. We're just kind of going to be nerding out about the amazing show and the implications for the MCU and just all those different things like that. So I'm excited to get into it. I hope you are as well. And Loki season 2, just to start it off, Loki season 2 started exactly the way I wanted it to, in the form of right off the bat. We don't have to do anything else and then be like, oh, 10 years late. No. We're starting off where we left off within the first season finale and going into the season premiere for season 2. It was exactly what I needed it to be. I loved that we got to see Loki be a lot more gritty in this season overall, more so than the last season. I think they actually improved on a lot of the complaints that were brought because of or brought from Loki season 2. A lot of the complaints that a lot of people had, I don't feel like anyone could have the same complaints going into season 2 that they had with season 1. I feel like season 2 definitely changed the game, capitalized on some things, and just made it a lot different than I think anyone was ready for or prepared for. But at the same time, still sticking to a lot of those things that we all loved from Loki season 2, and it being fresh enough and different enough that it doesn't feel like we're watching the same exact thing happen, even though the premise of the story is very similar. Loki was a great character to follow through this season, watching him become even more watching his character develop even more, you know, gain more depth across the duration of the show. It was really cool to see him and Morbius kind of play that, not just the good cop bad cop role, but actually showing to be each other's moral compass in a way, doing a lot. And we saw some of that in season 1, of course, but as I've been saying, season 2 just capitalized on so many of those things that were implemented in the first place coming from season 1. And it's just really incredible to see what the hell they've been able to do, going from one season to the next. And Loki, Sylvie, Mobius, yeah, and Mobius, and I can't think, what is her name, 13 or 19, something like that. All of their characters actually had a lot of development this season, gave us a lot more understanding of who they are, realizing it was actually a really big realization to me. I guess not really big, but it definitely became as a shock that the TVA was not disappearing anytime soon. That was more of a shock to me going out of season 1, but going into season 2 and realizing, like, no, they're trying to do everything they can to stabilize the TVA so they can continue to do what they need to do there in a different way. I was like, wow, I don't know why, but I did not see that coming. I kind of thought that all ended with the TVA coming down and that led into the multiverse, instead of the exact opposite, and the TVA being instead of the exact opposite. And I just was really pleased with this season and the story overall. And I feel like, yeah, we could have ended it right there where we left off with the season finale, but I don't think we will. Nothing is confirmed, but I don't think that's where we will see the last of Loki, or I don't think we've seen the rest of him just yet. So I'm kind of trying my best not to get too super spoilery about Loki, but I am gonna start talking a little bit of spoilers now. So, well, I guess we can save some of that spoiler discussion for afterwards once we start watching the recap and all that good stuff. Yeah. Let's do that. So that's kind of how I feel about Loki season 1. Let's jump into the recap, and this is coming at us from Movies in Minutes. Man of Recaps has not done a Loki season 2 recap yet, which is kind of insane. But yeah, they haven't. So we're going to check out. I've never actually seen this. This person before that we're about to watch, but I hope he has a recap video. And again, this is coming at us from Movies in Minutes. I've never really heard of Movies in Minutes, but seems like it's we could actually get some dope stuff going. Let's see, display, IG. Oh, sorry, y'all. All right, let's check it out. Oh.
In the past, the Time Variance Authority.
Oh, okay.
In the past, the Time Variance Authority, also known as the TVA, attempts to apprehend Loki while he is uncontrollably warping across time in their headquarters. In the present, Loki reunites with Mobius, and warns him of the threat posed by the many variants of He Who Remains, the TVA's creator. Concurrently, TVA member General Dox has several TVA hunters arm themselves, ostensibly to find Sylvie, who caused the sacred timeline to branch after killing He Who Remains. Loki and Mobius meet TVA technician Aurora Boris, also known as OB, who deduces that Loki is time-slipping, a phenomenon possibly caused by branching timelines dangerously overloading the temporal loom. To save Loki, OB instructs Mobius to approach the temporal loom with the temporal aura extractor device to extract Loki from the time stream as Loki prunes himself. Loki time slips to the future, where the TVA is being evacuated as the loom goes critical. He encounters Sylvie before he is pruned by someone at the last minute. In the present, Mobius successfully pulls Loki from the time stream, and they set out to find Sylvie. In a mid-credit scene,
I wasn't ready for the
Sylvie enters
vibe.
a branched timeline in Broxton, Oklahoma, 1982, and visits a McDonald's restaurant. Loki, Mobius, and Hunter B-15 find and capture Hunter X5 in London, 1977, on the sacred timeline, where he lives as film actor Brad Wolfe. Under interrogation, he admits to abandoning Dox's mission and reveals Sylvie's location. Meanwhile, OB attempts to repair the loom to safely accommodate the branching timelines, but discovers he cannot access it without help from the missing Miss Minutes or He Who Remains aura. Loki, Mobius, and Wolf travel to Oklahoma and find Sylvie working in a McDonald's. Loki tells her of their encounter in the TVA's future and asks for her assistance to figure out what would happen, but Sylvie refuses to involve herself with the TVA. After Wolf proclaims the group is in mortal danger, Sylvie enchants him, forcing him to reveal Dox's plan to simultaneously destroy the branching timelines with reset charges. Sending Wolf back into custody, Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie capture Dox, but her plan has largely succeeded and some of her loyalists have escaped. As TVA receptionist Casey tracks the rogue Ravonna Renslayer's tempad on one of the remaining branching timelines, Sylvie declares that the TVA is rotten and returns to McDonald's with He Who Remains tempad in her possession. Miss Minutes and Ravonna travel to Chicago, 1868, to secretly drop the TVA guidebook to a young Victor Timely, a variant of He Who Remains, who informed Miss Minutes about this plan before his death. They then travel to 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair on this branched timeline, where Loki and Mobius arrive tracking Ravonna's tempad. There, they see Timely presenting his temporal loom prototype. Timely then has 4 groups chasing him: Loki and Mobius, who want to use his aura to fix the loom, Ravonna and Miss Minutes, who want him to take his variant's place with them at his side, Sylvie, who wants to kill him to prevent his rise to power, and a robber baron and his allies wanting revenge against Timely's fake invention scam. Timely escapes the fair with Ravonna and Miss Minutes, although Miss Minutes convinces Timely to abandon Ravonna. At Timely's Wisconsin laboratory, he turns Miss Minutes off after she professes romantic love for him. Ravonna, Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie arrive, with Sylvie gaining control. Seeing Timely's fear, Sylvie allows Loki to take him back to the TVA, then sends Ravonna to the Citadel at the end of time with Miss Minutes being brought along. They see He Who Remains' decaying corpse as Miss Minutes reveals that she knows a secret about Ravonna. Miss Minutes reveals that in the past, Ravonna commanded He Who Remains' army. He proposed that Ravonna lead the TVA with him, then had Miss Minutes erase the memories of Ravonna and other TVA employees. As the temporal loom reaches catastrophic failure, Loki and his allies attempt to use Timely and OB's throughput multiplier to fix it. Ravonna and Miss Minutes attempt to take over the TVA, approaching the detained Wolf, Dox, and her loyalists for help. Only Wolf agrees. Dox and her loyalists instead choose to be crushed to death by Miss Minutes. Wolf kidnaps Timely. While staging a rescue, Sylvie and Loki encounter his time-slipping past self. Loki prunes his past self. OB deactivates Miss Minutes and the TVA's magic-suppressing devices. This enables Sylvie to enchant Wolf, controlling him to prune Ravonna. Timely is rescued and is able to restore access to the temporal loom, but the loom's increased temporal radiation spaghettifies him before he can launch the throughput multiplier. The temporal loom explodes, and the blast wave spreads toward Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, B-15, Casey, and OB in the TVA. Loki survives the explosion, but everyone else has vanished and the TVA headquarters spaghettifies. Loki escapes as he begins time-slipping again, taking him to the branch timelines where his friends Mobius, Hunter B-15, Casey, and OB were reset to their original lives. Wanting to time-slip to before the explosion, Loki enlists this original version of Mobius, known as Dawn, for help. With Loki unable to control his time-slipping, original OB, also known as AD Doug, proposes Loki gather everyone present at the explosion back together so that their collective temporal aura can send them back to the right time and place. Doug builds a tempad using a TVA guidebook that Loki kept. Loki succeeds in gathering everyone else to Doug's workshop except Sylvie, who has retained her memories. Refusing to help, Sylvie gets Loki to admit his true motivation. He wants his friends back and fears being alone. When everything in Sylvie's timeline spaghettifies, she goes to help Loki. However, Doug's workshop also spaghettifies, as do these original versions of Mobius, B-15, Casey, OB, and Sylvie. Loki finally controls his time-slipping by focusing on a person. Declaring that he can rewrite the story, Loki time-slips to before the explosion by focusing on OB. Loki time-slips to the moment before the temporal loom's explosion. Despite his attempts, the loom ultimately fails to accommodate the infinite branches. Loki slips to the moment before Sylvie kills He Who Remains, who tells Loki that the loom is a failsafe. Overloading it protects the sacred timeline by deleting the branches along with the TVA. He Who Remains suggests Loki kill Sylvie to save the loom, which Loki rejects. After consulting Mobius and Sylvie at different moments in time, Loki replaces Timely.
Sylvie was like, "You're gonna have to kill me!"
Loki destroys the
Like,
loom,
what?
magically rejuvenates the dying timelines, and rearranges them into a tree-like structure, committing himself to oversee the branches alone at the end of time. The TVA now tracks He Who Remains variants across the growing branches, with Mobius reporting one variant being stopped at Earth 616's adjacent realm, likely a reference to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. B-15 becomes one of the TVA's leaders. OB reactivates a now-friendly Miss Minutes and writes a new TVA handbook with Timely as co-author. In one timeline, Timely did not receive the TVA handbook in 1863. Ravonna awakens in the Void and encounters Alioth. Mobius retires from the TVA. He and Sylvie observe Dawn, the original version of Mobius, as well as his children from afar.
Yeah, that shit was peak. That was definitely.
Stand up to those bullies. Give them the old one.
That was definitely awesome. Bruh, Loki was just amazing. There's really nothing else to say. Loki was just fantastic. They did such a good job bringing it all together, making us care about all these other characters. Yeah. Good season. Good season. And I love the callback of Loki being DB. Is it DB Cooper? Is that who it is? You know, with yeah, I just like that. That was dope. That was cool. That was a cool little put together right there. I liked it a lot. All right, let's get into the episode 6 breakdown coming at us from New Rockstars. New Rockstars does amazing jobs of breaking these episodes down, so I'm really excited to see what's some of the stuff that they may have seen that, you know, I did not. All right.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss.
Whoa.
And this is a breakdown of Loki. Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Loki Season 2, Episode 6, the season finale and perhaps series finale, episode titled Glorious Purpose, which, yes, was the title of the first episode of the series because we have come full circle with a brilliant, somber finale that finally fulfills Loki's purpose. This was one of the most beautifully written and designed stories to ever come out of Marvel Studios, and I am going to break it down piece by piece to illuminate the hidden meaning, the details you missed, some questions you might still have, and to celebrate and appreciate this glorious series. Breaking down each episode
Truly
of Loki
glorious,
has been so
truly
rewarding for
magnificent.
me, and I just really
Show is
appreciate you guys
amazing,
sticking
yo,
with me
no
week after
cap.
week. Thank you. Also, I am super excited for New Rockstars live show this Thursday, November 16th at Brain Dead Studios in Los Angeles. You gotta be there since my Loki. Okay, in the previously on section,
Sorry.
the first clip we open with is this.
I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
This is the first time we heard Loki say these words in the MCU, and man, look at this guy. Just look at how far we have come. As this episode forms a bookend for the series, the opening Marvel
Facts,
Studios title
so.
card reverses. And I love the new impact we get from this reversed MCU imagery, like T'Challa's impact shockwave condenses into him, the Avengers glide backward through the quantum tunnels,
Oh,
reversing the
yeah.
time heist of Endgame. It's like all of MCU history is capable of being reversed. And yes, we here at New Rockstars did reverse this back to the
Okay.
normal direction so that we could try to listen for any Paul is dead audio secrets that they might have snuck in there. Roll it. But this show is here. Oh my
Nah.
god. I'm
Nah,
just
that's
kidding.
crazy.
I just did that. It really is just music for this, and I added the Mephisto stuff for too. We begin in the glow of the sacred timeline, seen from an angle we've never seen before. Now, composer Natalie Holt includes this chanting choir. I think this might be the Norse poetic Edda Lokasenna that Natalie Holt tweeted about in recent weeks, which is an epic poem in which Loki curses the other gods for bringing about the Ragnarok apocalypse with their vices. Loki in this episode will avert Ragnarok for his friends by creating an Yggdrasil world's tree of his own. We see the words for
Beautiful.
all time always etched on the outside of the door, and we glide in through the windows to find ourselves back at the events at the end of episode 4.
Time to be brave.
Loki has time slipped back into his younger self. Now, this is significant because every other time Loki has time slipped, his body has been detached and he sees a past version of himself set on
Yeah,
its own
that's
destined
something
life
I
path.
noticed
like
too.
He's just kind of a witness to his own history. But here, this time, Loki time slips his consciousness back into his own body. It's consciousness displacement, a distinct type of time travel that I've identified in the past. It's the kind that Wolverine goes through in X-Men Days of Future Past and what Desmond goes through in Lost. This means that Loki is now in control of his destiny, or so we think. Loki says they need to get Timely out of there, but Victor has
Consciousness
already suited up, so Loki
displacement.
for this loop just kind of has to observe and judge
Let
how
me write
best to
that
alter the
down.
next loop. This time we see Victor run out from the side.
That scream is crazy.
And now the strand just kind of float back through the door, and I love that that big vent just kind of goes slack to let us know that he's dead. Loki asks OB,
What could we have done differently?
We took too long.
Nah.
yes, this needle drop is a fifth of Beethoven, Walter Murphy's 1976 disco
Was that
arrangement
really
of
in it?
Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, famous from the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Beethoven's Fifth is also known as the Fate Symphony. Its opening notes historically considered to be fate knocking at the door. This comes from Beethoven's secretary,
Ooh.
Anton Schindler, who wrote after Beethoven's death. The composer himself provided to these dips when one day, in this author's presence, he pointed to the beginning of the first movement and expressed in these words the fundamental idea of his work, thus fate knocks at the door. And so this next sequence shows Loki struggling to fight that fated knock at the door that delivers helping after helping of spaghetti. Since Natalie Holt obviously loves disco from her episode 2 1977 disco rendition of the series theme, we just get to watch Jonathan Majors die over and over to Walter Murphy's swanky disco beat. And I love how the editing makes it seem like it is Loki himself commanding the DJ to kick up the tempo.
Faster.
Okay. No time to argue.
So in loop 2, Loki takes over for OB to brief Victor and hurries him down the steps. Now Victor passes through the briefest purple light. Even this journey, we learn from He Remains later, was paved by the purple guy. Loop 3,
Facts.
Loki tries to go even faster and discovers that there's a microphone that he can use to direct Victor, but Victor dies again. Now Loki says,
Not faster.
Is it over?
Earlier.
so loop 4, Loki goes back to the war room a few minutes earlier in episode 4's timeline. This would be a scene that we didn't actually see in the episode. Shortly before, we cut back to Victor showing Ravonna, Brad, and Miss Minutes how the throughput multiplier worked when Brad was already sitting on the table. But here Victor says,
Ms. Ravonna, after what happened in my work...
Miss Minutes.
I think he was about to call out Miss Minutes for trying to make a move on him back in the workshop. Loki tells Miss Minutes,
I know right now you're hurt and you're angry, but we need your help in finishing the throughput multiplier faster.
yeah, that confused little blink sound effect. It's just so great. Loki watches Victor go again to his
Yeah.
death, and the word skin is still traced in the dust by Mobius from episode 1. Loop 5, this time he has Sylvie instead of Casey dragging Victor back into the loom room. Maybe Sylvie made faster work of Renslayer and Brad. Loop 6, we see the loom explode and Loki just pounds on the door. Loop 7, Victor spaghettifies because he opened the door before he put his helmet on or picked up the multiplier. Loop 8, same deal. There's no headgear, he's not holding the multiplier. And then loops 9 through 11, we see 3 deaths, 2 of them with no helmet, 1 with. So loop 12, Victor actually makes it out a few steps, but then falls to his knees, and look at this death. The skin peels off of his skull and jawbone.
Oh
to the
my
bottom.
God.
He got open up for the cover. So the next loop, Loki goes all the
Holy
way back to when
shit.
Victor was first introduced to OB in the RNA department. Loki jumps straight to that model of the loom that OB had made.
This model is not finished, okay? There's only one coat of paint on this.
Only one coat of paint? I mean, geez, how many times do you need to paint this? Or paint it at all? But yeah, this also builds on this scene's parallel to Doc Brown's model of Hill Valley Town Square in Back to the Future,
Yeah.
which he told Marty McFly he didn't have time to paint. Loki says the figurine looks like Mobius, but it's actually Victor Timely, which is a great callback because in episode 4 they argued over whether it looked more like Mobius or Loki, and Loki just has to win the argument now. Loki speedily walks through it.
Gonna take some doing? It's not gonna be easy. A lot of temporal radiation. Everybody following? Yes. Good.
Yes, they all respond at the same time. This kind of comedic timing totally reminds me of another Christopher Lloyd classic from the 80s, Clue.
And to make a long story short,
Loki asks OB how long it will take to learn everything he knows about mechanics, physics, and engineering.
Decades.
Centuries.
And I love the little pneumatic tube sound effect in the background to underscore all of this sinking in for Loki. And then, oof, centuries? This is the most painful time jump title screen since 5 years later in
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame. Loki's dilemma here is inspired, of course, by concepts like Groundhog Day. And for the movie Groundhog Day, director Harold Ramis said that Bill Murray's character, Phil Connors, was stuck reliving that day for 10,000 years. And like
Oh.
Loki on this show, Phil Connors reached a similar state of nirvana.
I'm a god.
You're God.
I'm a god. I'm not the god. I don't think.
Unlike Phil, Loki was already a god, and Asgardians and frost giants age over the course of 5,000 years anyway. So for Loki, this is kind of like a couple back-to-back COVID lockdowns. So now, super confident, he walks timely through it.
Now, it looks
is that-
lethal. It is absolutely safe. Watch this.
Low.
Your turn. I'll take those. Thank you.
Thank you.
When you're ready.
Ready.
And go.
Yes, he's so smoothly efficient, anticipating
Yeah.
Victor's every response, saving
I
every
love
single
that
time.
too.
Mobius starts
It
to
was
say,
beautiful.
Watch out, OB. Looks like
Someone's coming for your job. That's right. I'm a coming.
Now, this finale doesn't answer it, but if OB was the original builder of the TVA, then yeah, Loki does end up coming for his job by building his new kind of loom. He types in the password
That
super
is
fast.
true.
Loki just knows the password, which I'm gonna assume came from him trying every permutation of password for centuries until he got the right one. This time, the camera swoops in the same way on Victor that it did in episode 4, but instead of the radiation killing him, it just bumps him a bit, and he keeps going. Loki keeps incredibly calm.
What did I tell you? Do not put the multiplier down. It will roll off the gangway. That's right. Well done.
When the green button initially doesn't work, the background behind Victor does depict some purple-colored cracks, which do look like the tears in reality in Spider-Man No Way Home and the reality rift in the Marvels. And it's more like
Hello.
the multiplier fires into the loom, and while the music becomes victorious and everyone cheers triumphantly, if you look at the sacred timeline, it's not actually condensing. When Victor makes it back in, he says,
pumpkins.
I have no idea why he says pumpkins. I guess there is an old-timey phrase of some pumpkins, which would refer to someone or something impressive, but he just says pumpkins. Like, is he hungry? Does he think Miss Minutes is a pumpkin? Is this like another example of him inventing words like shoddyocracy? But despite their apparent success, the loom begins overloading again, and Victor realizes it's a scaling problem, that you cannot scale for infinite.
It's like trying to divide by 0.
So, in mathematics, when you divide a number by a smaller and smaller number, you approach infinity. Like 10 divided by 2 is 5, by 1 is 10, by 1/2 is 20, by 1/4 is 40, and so on and so on. But we cannot say 10 divided by 0 is infinity because 0 has no multiplicative inverse. That would be a number when divided by itself would equal 1 because 1 over 0 times 0 is still 0. That's
Still
why it's kind of
zero.
a rule in mathematics that cannot be broken. And there's various further reasons why mathematicians can't even like invent a way to bypass this. Loki says,
So no matter how much we increase the throughput, it will never be enough.
Never enough.
And the loom will always fail.
yeah, before it was Loki who finished everyone else's sentences, but now it's Victor
now it's
finishing
Victor.
his. Sylvie
Ooh.
suggests this all started with her decision, and Loki reluctantly returns to the Citadel, the events of the season 1 finale. We saw
Yeah,
Sylvie
I
in
love
slow
that.
motion,
That was
this same
saucy.
shot in that episode, so it makes for the perfect moment for Loki to slip back to. It's like when we saw it in slow motion before, the show was kind of hinting, hey, we might come back to this. This time he tries for a more convincing speech.
Stop. I've been where you are.
Bro, they were cooking with this season.
One major difference you may notice in the Citadel is that now the fire in the fireplace causes the room to glow much brighter, whereas in the
Yeah.
season 1 finale, the room was much gloomier. I think the difference reflects how Loki is now seeing He Who Remains' true self, though not at first. Sylvie says,
You've been seduced by a throne.
The last thing I want is a throne.
oof, and that is where he ends up. So we get another round of loops, each one ending with Sylvie repelling Loki, and the sound of He Who Remains gasping and saying his final words.
See you soon. See you soon. See you soon.
Now the words feel kind of like a mockery for Loki because He Who Remains knows Loki is going to keep looping back on this. Loki even loops back to the elevator when He Who Remains was eating an apple.
Not what you were expecting, hmm?
But just a man.
Flesh and blood? Don't tell me I'm a disappointment.
Ah, they cleverly spliced this together with a shot from season 1, episode 6, and then edited it on Majors rubbing his nose to give us this new angle from the side, with the actors back in the same wardrobe. It's kind of like in Back to the Future Part 2 when Zemeckis restaged much of the events of the dance in 1955 to shoot it at new angles as Marty loops back on that history. Normally here, after rubbing his nose, He Who Remains anticipates Sylvie preparing to strike him from behind, and he taps his master Timpad to hop around the elevator. This time, he doesn't even reach for the Timpad, so he must anticipate Loki this time grabbing her arm to stop her. He knows that Loki is time slipping, and I love this little attention to detail to prove that. We now do see Loki get
Oh, that's awesome!
finally snaps He Remains to do something.
I
He
love
Remains
it.
freezes time.
Oh, come on. You're not telling me you haven't learned how to pause time yet. I figured you'd be way past that.
Yo!
Dr. Squatch for sponsoring this video. And actually,
Bruh,
the show is in
why?
perfect time.
Why was why was He Who Remains like that to Victor Timely? That was cold the way he was doing Timely. For real. That was insane the way he was doing him. I definitely wasn't
Great
ready.
deal. To level up your shower.
I definitely was not ready for him to just be geesing on him and just talking like all of that just took me by surprise when he started doing that, yo. I was just like, whoa, what's going on?
To pause time. His frustration is 3 bundle by clicking the link in the description or go to
Hey man, it's been a minute. Hope you're good. Yo, what's up with the kid? I hope you're doing good as well. I'm definitely doing good. It has been a long time,
his
but
frustration with his comment to He Remains, we realized later, was
But
actually
you know.
part of Loki's plan to get He Remains to intervene so that they could talk. But He Remains does know that this
yeah.
isn't the first time
My
they've had this
PC
kind of
was
conversation.
dead
I know
and
about
all
the
that,
shipping,
so
And who do you think paved
I'm back
that
now.
road?
He Remains brags that he never
and
planned
I
to
am
just
better
sit
than
back
ever,
and let Sylvie
hopefully.
kill him. He knew that it would lead to Loki slipping through time, putting Loki in a position to think he could save the TVA so that Loki would inevitably slip back here so the men could talk. He Remains suggested that he would include Loki into this in their first meeting if Loki was listening carefully.
I told you. Reincarnation. Baby.
baby.
But come on, on, he remains said reincarnation baby in a very different context.
You plunge your blade in my chest, and an infinite amount of me start another multiversal war, and I just end up right back here anyways. Reincarnation, baby.
Yeah, before he suggested it was gonna be another Kang who would end up right back here. Now he's saying he, literally this variant, would have never left the chair, and Loki's need to time slip to loop back would, in effect, respawn him. But then we get to
Wait,
the
is that
most
what he
important
was saying?
exchange in this scene.
Hold on.
Infinite amount.
In a very different context.
You plunge your blade in my chest, and an infinite amount of me start another multiversal war, and I just end up right back here anyways.
Nah, yeah, he wasn't talking about anyone different. He was saying that the multiversal war will happen regardless, right? So he's just gonna end up back in the chair because every time there's a multiversal war, he will always be the one that wins because him and Renslayer will just go and get, you know, what was brother's name? Aboleth, Agaroth, Shima Gorath, whatever bruh's name is. They'll just go get him, and then she'll command the armies, and then they'll win.
Reincarnation, baby.
Yeah, before he suggested it was going to be another Kang.
Look
who
at
would
that.
end up
Oh
right back
my
here.
God,
Now
bro.
he's saying he, literally this variant, would have never left the chair, and Loki's need to time slip to loop back would. in
Let's
effect,
go.
respawn
Loved
him.
Loki
Then we
season
get to
2
the
so
most
much. It
important
brought my
exchange in
back
this
my
scene.
hype for Marvel. That Secret Invasion hurt. Yeah, I gotta rewatch Secret Invasion. I don't think it hurt. Like, I don't know. I don't really know if it hurt or not. I gotta rewatch it. I've only watched it once. So I've only had a honeymoon reaction to it. I need to definitely go back and watch it so I can really soak in everything. Because I know a lot of it was hard to watch that, do watch parties for that, because people were tripping balls for Secret Invasion. Like, it was like they did not want to wait until the next episode to see what was going to happen. It was like, no, this is stupid because this, because that, because that, because this. And it's like, yo, we haven't even seen the next episode yet. We don't even know if this character is dead yet. Why are we tripping already? You know, it was pretty exhausting, but it be like that sometimes. So it was that and She-Hulk. It was hard for me to even be able to watch the show and enjoy it because I felt like I had to defend everything because people was like nitpicking the hell out of those two shows. Secret Invasion and She-Hulk got nitpicked to high hell. Like, were they the best thing ever? Hell nah. But nitpicking every single thing is just there's no reason for that. You know, especially when we know that COVID has hurt every single project that we have got so far, not to mention visual effects artists and all these other things, reshoots, underpaid actors and writers. Like, all of these things have been occurring for all these different projects for the last, literally since COVID, basically. So for the last 3 years, which is literally how long everyone's been complaining is for the last 3 years since, you know, like, oh man, shit's never gonna be good again. It's like, bro, we got a lot of stuff that we have to kind of explore and see. And it's like, we're at this point where we don't need to love every single project. Every single project doesn't need to be the best thing ever invented since sliced bread. And that's not what's going on here. Like, that's not how it was before. Every Marvel movie, every Infinity Saga movie is not the best movie ever. There's a lot of bad movies. There's a lot of bad movies. There's a lot of good movies. There's a lot of decent movies. There's a lot of great movies. But it's to think that every single one is a hit, that's ridiculous, you know? Like, almost the ones that people love the most are the ones that are all written by the same people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a trend here. So yeah, It's always hilarious to me when people complain about things that are just, I don't know, it's just wild. So we'll have to see what goes on. I'm happy everyone liked Loki season 2, and I mean, it would be hard for me to go from Loki season 2 to Miss Marvel to She-Hulk to all these other things if I didn't know that, you know, that's how comics and all these things work already. You know what I mean? Like, everything is going to be a different story because it's all told by different people. So you have different takes, different opinions, different ideas, themes, messages, everything across the board. I don't think messages being in stories is something that's new. I don't think messages being in media is something that is inherently a bad thing either, because a theme is very heavily a message that the movie or whatever form of media you're consuming is pushing forth. In my opinion, there is always some type of narrative or some type of message or whatever always being pushed in whatever movie, show, or project that you are watching. And again, any content that you consume, there's always some type of core message and or theme. So when that message and or theme doesn't necessarily vibe with you or with your messages and themes that you that you believe in, then just don't consume that form of content, that form of media. And then that is what shows, okay, well, maybe people don't want to watch that then. You got to let that type of stuff speak for itself in a way. And then it's like, are we going to live in universe, quote unquote, or are we going to live out of universe, quote unquote? Because it's like, okay, if we're going to say all these things are bad because messages, because theme, because X, because Y, because Z, because CGI. No, it's because the writing. No, it's because there's too many females in the MCU. No, it's because this. No, it's because of that. It's like, all right, so it's because of everything? Like, what are we actually talking about? No, it's that everyone has their own ideas and opinions. A bunch of people get together and they talk about those ideas and opinions, and then they all agree on the thing that someone doesn't like. And now it's like, no, yeah, the thing that you don't like is valid in that movie, and then the thing that you don't like in that movie is also valid. So the MCU sucks now because it's all about women and they're pushing the message. And it's like, bro, what are we talking about? How is that even? It's like, you know what? I can see how you could feel. I can understand how someone could feel like, yo, the MCU is filled with women now. You know why? Because there were literally none for the entire Infinity Saga. We didn't get one female-centered movie or project. So, yeah, now that you got 5 of them out of the 15, it's like, damn, there's a lot of female stuff coming. It's like, bro, because there was never any. They gave Black Widow a movie after she was dead. Like, come on, G, what are we talking about? So I feel like there's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration, a lot of things that we got to look at. And then it's like, if we look at things from an in-universe point of view for Marvel, for the MCU, it's like, okay, we understand what's going on in universe in the MCU with the multiverse and all the stuff that they're doing. But if we take it out of universe and we start talking about, again, these themes, these messages, and all these other things that are going on, it's like, yeah, man, I'm pretty sure that's what the point of comic books has been from the beginning of time, is to show these different themes and messages to people that wouldn't otherwise consume them. Because this isn't the type of media that they consume, and it's exploring these different themes and messages in the form of media. Like, I don't understand. It's like the argument is the exact thing that makes it the thing in the first place. So it's like, I guess when that starts getting used for evil in some people's opinion is when it becomes bad. But I feel like, that's a thin line of, hey, what's really going on versus what's not going on. And then you have things like the Marvels failing in the midst of a writer's strike, a actor's strike, all these other things. It was even shot during COVID. So, like, all of these things are barreling against it from the jump. And then it's like, oh, no, it's because it's all females in it. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess we're just going to ignore all of the things that are also going on in Hollywood, but we're not going to ignore the things that are going on in media. But, it gets very picky, choosy. And for me, I'm just gonna enjoy what I do enjoy, not enjoy what I don't. You know what I'm saying? And talk about it, man. I mean, that's kind of it. And if I don't like something, I'm gonna say I don't like it, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, yo, this is because it's freaking propaganda. Like, bro, I don't like Thor: Love and Thunder. You know why? Because I think it's a bad movie in the character development of who that person is in the MCU up until this point. It's not like, oh, no, it's because Taika Waititi was trying to push a funny message. And no, man, like, was the movie too funny to me? Yeah, it was a little bit. But if it wasn't for the screaming goats, I probably wouldn't have been as pressed. I'm open to say these things. And then if any of you guys like it, I'm like, okay, no, I dig it. Because I've watched the movie twice. And I see some things that people could like. Do I like them? Not necessarily. Are there moments that are hella dope? Yes. There was dope moments in everything. Even the things that I didn't like. There's always a dope moment in these movies because they're based off of comics. And every comic that's ever been created has a dope panel somewhere. And it's like, damn. Yeah, do you remember that one story where Captain Marvel did this? Yeah, the actual comic sucked, but that was the first time she used this ability, or whatever. Like, that was the first time Spider-Man did this, but the comic actually sucked. But the only reason to watch it is to see Spider-Man get this next level thing that he never had before. Like, I don't know, man. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like I hope people start looking at the full picture and not at just half of it. That's the best thing that I can say. But we gonna see.
Loki takes a moment.
Rant
tells
over.
He remains as if testing him.
We die with the dying, but born with the dead.
Uh-huh. Ooh, for the first time, Loki has said something that threw off He Who Remains. I don't think he knows this reference. This is a line from T.S. Eliot's poem, Little Gidding, which is the fourth part of T.S. Eliot's 4 quartets. The fuller passage is, we die with the dying, see they depart, we go with them. We are born with the dead, see they return and bring us with them. Little Gideon is a town in England, and the
The
poem is
reshoots
about
really
a
hurt that
narrator
show.
who meets a
Facts.
ghost
She-Hulk
with a
season
combination
2
of
though.
various
Love me
poets
some
and
Jen
literary
Walters.
figures.
Yeah, it
T.S.
was
Eliot
awesome.
is saying
I'm
that
here for the
humanity-
ride. Whatever Marvel puts out, I will watch. Super excited for What If. I agree. I'm watching every single thing that Marvel creates. And if I don't like it, I don't like it, and I just won't watch it again until I gotta rewatch it for my yearly super nerd rewatch-a-thon, because that's just what I do. You know what I'm saying? But just because we watch every single Marvel movie going up into a Marvel movie doesn't mean y'all got to. And then if you feel left out, don't attack the media because there's too much of it. Just say you ain't got time. It's okay. It ain't your fault. Go watch Man of Recaps. Catch up.
Can only avoid war by learning the lessons of the past. And
Women
it
are
says
hot
the
and
world is
badass.
saved
I
by
love to see.
understanding the unity
I
of the
love to
past,
see
present,
more
and
women
future. You can
heroes.
see how this applies
I
to
think
Loki's
the
going
biggest
through.
thing
You
is
can
if
only
we get to
prevent
see.
multiversal war by learning.
I will say that if we could see the women heroes be written from different points of views, I guess that would do a lot for people as well. But in my opinion, they are written from a lot of different point of views. But it's obvious to me. It's obvious that Marvel is doing trying to build it up more for the children and not for like the older. Like it's not like, okay. In my opinion, Captain Marvel isn't really something that's like for my wife, Like, I think stuff like Captain Marvel or the Marvels is something that's more for my daughter. And then She-Hulk is something that's more for my wife because it goes to the more adult type of vibe. The same way, like, I don't think that Moon Knight is for my son necessarily. Like, you know what I mean? But you know what he might like? Miss Marvel. So I feel like that's kind of the way that kind of the route that we're in. And it's like, I think if a lot of these people that are straight hating opened up to more opinions, it would allow them to see why these things are actually being created in the first place. It's because there's a call for it. It's just that Marvel has to see how big is that call before they make the decision on whether to do it or not. And it's like, yo, okay, people love WandaVision, and then it's like, oh, but it's the MCU. Like, what? Then we get all these. I just don't know. I don't know. It's just the way that they've kind of led with it, especially with Black Widow. Black Widow was terrible. Like, that was not a good introduction for the first movie. You know what I mean? Well, not the first movie, because I know Captain Marvel was the first movie, and that movie wasn't terrible. That was an okay movie. It's just they go a lot. They go very above and beyond with certain things. So I think that we need to get just something in there that is there for a little bit of everyone, but it's also it's a female led something that is for everyone, right? I think that is kind of the biggest thing, is like, look at Ant-Man and Iron Man and then Thor, all these different types of quote unquote men, really. And then it's like, we kind of need that same thing to go on in the women's section. And then it's like, Endgame tries to just throw that little part out there where all the females come together and everyone's like, the internet is collectively like, you should not do this thing that you just tried to do here, you know? And they try to do something different, and then the internet is like, no, don't do that either. It's like, bro, I don't know, man. But I will say we've seen some dope stuff come out, though. I think everything has had its merit. I think if we wouldn't have had all these dire things going on in Hollywood and for business and all that, I think we would be in a way better point. And COVID really knocked teeth out left and right. All the way down to even the creation and bloom of streaming services in the first place. Like, no one was even caring about streaming services, and then COVID hit, and it was like, oh wait, people about to be in the house for a while now. We have to kind of change everything, and that changed everything. And then Disney Plus and executives getting fired, Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, and then we got there's so much stuff that's gone on. I'm gonna make a video. Echo would be deaf more for us adult women. Echo's gonna be lit. I think Hawkeye was a really good introduction of that like young female character as well, like that Peter Parker-esque vibe of a character. Same with Miss Marvel. I think those shows did a really good job at capitalizing on the female character. I don't want to say issue because it's not an issue, but just that in general, like giving us Kate Bishop. I love me some Kate Bishop. I love me some Yelena Belova. They were both dope characters. Miss Marvel, she's a dope character. Even Photon is a dope character. Wanda, of course, they gave Wanda so much, and then you find out that the creators that were doing stuff for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness had no crossover with the ones that did WandaVision. So it's like, bro, there's these bonehead moves that were being made at the same time, but it's because of how bad things were with executives not being able to be on board and all these other things going on. So it's just a lot, man. There's just a lot. So we just got to kind of be careful and make sure that we're rocking. Loki, Toby, Spider-Man, and Wolverine versus the recasted Kang would be dope and high. Yo, what's up with it, Nighthawk? And yeah, bro, we're going to definitely see a lot of things like that going on in Secret Wars. Secret Wars is going to be insane.
Learning lessons from
insane in the membrane. Let's get back to it. My bad, y'all.
I pointed out that one of the books that Nolan handpicked for the all-important bookshelf is selected poems by T.S. Eliot. Christopher Nolan actually said of these poems, quote, concepts of time and space at their most complex are sometimes best expressed through art rather than science. Eliot's 4 quartets are as thought-provoking about time as any scientific text. And the first of those 4 quartets is actually T.S. Eliot's Burnt Notion, which opens with time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. A theme that applies to the grandfather paradox that gets presented in the Tesseract of Interstellar, but also to the type of time travel that this season of Loki is presenting. By the way, T.S. Eliot's having a big weekend in Marvel. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats was based on poems by T.S. Eliot, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, and a number from that show has a big moment in the Marvels. But by saying this, Loki is testing He Remains. He's reciting this poetry to hint to He Remains that he did actually learn some lessons about the past. But Loki recites the line in a way that sounds like they just could be an in-context morbid overture about their doomed status, or maybe the Ragnarok-y cyclical nature of death and rebirth. So He Remains hears this and he's just like, I don't know where you're going with that. And since he caught He Remains off guard, Loki uses this moment to show his cards.
What makes you think?
Wait. Okay, this moment I was not ready for at all. Like, when I was watching this, because obviously I wasn't able to do the watch party, my PC was broke. So when I was watching this and this moment occurred, I was in complete and utter shock and disbelief intertwined at the same time.
Loki uses this moment to show his cards.
And the sound is beautiful.
And what makes you think this is the first time we've had this conversation?
Only now does He Remains drop the bullshit and take Loki seriously.
Yeah.
Dude, Timely.
Yes, for all the
Yo!
criticism Majors got for his over-the-top performance as Victor Timely, you gotta appreciate him doing an impression of himself here. It's not 100% Victor Timely, it's like 55% Victor Timely. Actually, now, Majors completely drops all theatricality and speaks plainly.
Scaling problem. That's what he told you? Victor told you the scaling problem. Wow. No.
Wow.
No, there's no problem.
Compared to the impishness he played He Remains with in season 1, episode 6, hopping on the desk and whatnot, this is the first time we've seen a Kang just be chill,
Damn.
which is important because we really need to trust the guy when he finally explains the truth, that the temporal loom is a failsafe. It's only designed to preserve the sacred timeline, and it automatically deletes branches, and if the TVA at that time gets destroyed, no biggie, it's easy to rebuild. So yes, we were right that the TVA has gone through several cycles of destruction. Destruction is just part of its cyclical protocol. Loki responds,
What a waste of time.
indeed, centuries. But you know what? Not fully wasted, because those centuries primed Loki for the important evolutionary steps he takes this episode. He needs to be divorced from the flow of time. He Remains says,
And as you may or may not know, my variants are already out there.
We'll find them.
There's too many.
I won't stop.
Doesn't matter.
Never stopped me before.
I know, champ.
yes, this rapidly edited exchange is the most heroic and Avenger-like Loki has ever sounded. My theory for Secret Wars is
That's
that the
very
guy's stories
true.
Loki will assemble one team of Marvel heroes to fight against a team selected by Kang Prime. He Remains tells him that the equation results in Loki losing, and Loki says, I know, because he and Sylvie had previously realized, do you think what makes a Loki is that we're destined to lose? But then Loki sees He Remains equations on the chalkboard, and he says he's gonna change the equation by breaking the loom. He's basically doing what mathematicians did with taking the square root of -1 and calling it I to open a whole new field of mathematics. He's doing that by basically putting 1 over 0 and calling it something new. And for the first time, He Remains is on the defensive in this chess match. He assumed Loki's attachments to his friends and to Sylvie would make it impossible for him to live without the sacred timeline. That's why he's dealing with Loki and not with Sylvie. But after centuries, Loki now feels confident that he can build a better timeline management system than He Remains Loom is. But Loki kind of needs to get approval from his closest friends. First, Mobius. So we return to Time Theater number 25 with Loki back in his prisoner jumpsuit and his collar, Mobius with a can of Josta from the very first episode. Remember, that was also titled Glorious Purpose. Loki now predicts Mobius's whole planned interrogation routine, and he gets to the brass tacks.
How do you choose who lives and who dies?
Yeah, Loki's just here to learn from Mobius, because he knows what he's gonna do. Mobius tells a story.
A couple of hunters went out on a mission somewhere near the Black Sea to find a variant who's going to be responsible for 5,000 deaths. They get there, and there's a little hiccup. The variant is an 8-year-old boy.
So the Black Sea is in Eastern Europe, surrounded by Bulgaria,
Crazy.
Georgia, Romania, Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine. Could this future murderous boy have grown up to be Victor Von Doom? Latveria's precise location in Eastern Europe has shifted around in Marvel Comics and is usually around Serbia or Romania. So it could be, but I don't know. Victor isn't really known for having a brother. Mobius says that the hunter hesitated, but a couple hunters died, and his partner had to step in and prune the kid. We learned that partner was Renslayer. Remember, she did something similar with young Sylvie, and that would mean that Mobius was the hunter who hesitated. Why did he hesitate at the sight of two brothers playing in the water? Well, maybe because somewhere deep down, he thought about his sons and a jet ski day. Mobius breaks down the weight of I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Most purpose is more burden than glory.
What an amazing deconstruction of a line that has echoed through the MCU for over 10 years. Loki shakes Mobius' hand to thank him for explaining how to live with the burden of being a constant timeline monitor, and Mobius in the room spaghettify, and it's just beautiful. But it contrasts with a painful version of that spaghettification.
Freaking insane!
Right when Mobius split into strands, and Loki pauses this so that he can talk to Sylvie.
What's happening?
They're outside time.
The sound design here is just really cool. It kind of sounds like a rushing river that we're
Sound is
surging into.
beautiful.
Sylvie deduces that Loki would have to kill her to save the sacred timeline, but she reminds him that the sacred timeline sucks, and he shouldn't want to take away free will if it's to protect that. She goes on.
A waveless ocean.
Loki. I've lived through enough of them to know that sometimes it's okay to destroy something.
But then Loki, who has been finishing sentences throughout this episode, realizes there is more to this sentence.
If there's a hope that you can replace that thing with There's something better.
I love this line, and I love that it's coming up in this series analog of a writer's room with all of A.D. Doug's post-it notes on that board for the story beats. This line from Loki is a difficult choice every writer of fiction has had to face. Sometimes you have to, as they call it, kill your darlings, to toss out an entire storyline or a character or a concept that you work so hard on. But you do it with the hope that if you came up with that thing, you can also come up with something better. Writers just have to know that it's not the thing you created that you have the faith in, it's the creator that still exists inside yourself that was always able to make something new. Eric Martin actually said in an interview that there was originally an entirely different concept that they wrote for episode 5, that was their favorite episode of the season, but the Marvel Studios Brain Trust nuked it because it never would have worked. And Eric Martin agreed with that decision, but he had to spend a whole weekend writing a new script for episode 5, and we ended up getting one hell of an episode. And we're gonna dig into what that mystery nuked episode was in the sneak peek on Sunday. Leaving Sylvie, Loki inhales like he's taking a plunge, and we are back in the loom room right after Victor stuck his head in the head scanner. This time, Loki concedes to Mobius that the figurine wasn't Mobius, it was Loki, and he makes the walk himself, and he locks Sylvie and Mobius out, telling them,
I know what I want. I know what kind of god I need to be. For you. For all of us.
So first off, I love how they framed Sylvie
Bruh
and
said,
Mobius
"We
in
are
the same window,
gods."
so this way Loki could say it to both of them. But
Yeah,
this line
beautiful.
echoes the very first Thor film right before Loki dropped off the Bifrost Bridge.
I could have done it, Father! I could have done it! For you! For all of us!
No, Loki.
Back then, Loki wasn't being honest. He was just doing it for himself. But this time, he truly is taking on this burden for those he loves. Loki marches down the gangway. His clothes tear away into a new godly form, a green cloak and a dramatic crown with tall horns. The crown is actually made of the same Kintsugi cracked pattern that He Remains Citadel was made out of. As Loki destroys the loom, his face seems to grow older a little bit. It kind of looks like that of Richard E. Grant as classic Loki when in season 1 episode 5 he shouted this episode's title. Remember, when Sylvie's record store spaghettified last episode, she briefly found herself in a dark green void with these dead, dark green vines. And that's where Loki finds himself now. But he realizes by grabbing these dead branches and by not letting them go, he can bring life into them. And by doing that, he creates an opening to the Citadel bedrock. When he steps off the broken gangway, reminding us again of the broken Bifrost Bridge that he dropped from in Thor, now, like Indiana Jones taking a leap of faith onto the invisible bridge in The Last Crusade, there is now a path for Loki to walk on. It's a journey into mystery. Now, I have talked about this season in the MCU. When there is a huge effects sequence, we're often looking at a big wash of glowing energy that doesn't seem to have any weight or texture. But in Loki, with the loom, every shot of it has been awe-inducing because we know what it is. This sequence takes that a step further. Without any words or any real logical baseline to understand what the hell is happening here, we just follow the emotion and we go with it and we get it. All we know is that Loki has transformed, and he kind of looks like a beetle crawling through some dark, tangled, dead roots of a tree, that he's wearing some swanky slippers, and that he cannot, he will not let go, because he is determined to build something new. I don't think we've ever seen visual storytelling this impressionistic in the MCU before.
Ever.
Production designer Kazra Farhani, along with Natalie Holt, Eric Martin, Justin Benson, and Aaron Moorhead, all of them deserve awards for this. Whereas
they were fucking
sacred timeline by using Goliath to violently devour branches he didn't. Loki does the work, and he does it by hand. He strains to grab every single vine, no matter how heavy or how strong that tensile strength is, because he doesn't want any branch to die, and he heaves it along his upward climb. We're reminded of Peter Parker holding his arms out in a Christ pose, trying to keep the two halves of the ferry together, or his variant, Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, trying to keep the train from crashing. We feel the weight, the strain on his arms. And actually, speaking of Christ poses, with Loki's barbed crown, doesn't he kind of seem like Jesus carrying his cross up the hill on a path to be crucified to die for our sins, to open the gates of heaven? I don't know, if I were to tell Loki this Christian mythology, he'd be like, hey, I'm Loki, the god of stories from Asgard.
Nah, that's cook right there. That's major cooking.
With him, forming a path for him to follow.
Yeah.
A yellow brick road, you might say.
Crazy
Those cracks were
cooking.
not there to show how the timeline was destined to be broken. They were there because it was broken without the rightful God there to unify everything. And now that he's here, the gold flows into a chair to form a throne for him. But it's not a beautiful Odin-style, perfectly molded throne. It's just kind of a stumpy throne with grooves on the back. Why? To make it easy for the vines to jut upward behind him. We see all this while the architecture of He Who Remains Citadel crumbles away. Loki illuminates all of the vines, becoming his own handheld loom in the heart of the timeline. And as the camera pulls back, it rotates 90 degrees, and it gives us this magnificent shot, a perfect depiction of the Yggdrasil world's tree from Asgardian and Norse mythology. The roots below are dead, but being woven by Loki and the trunk into life. And above, they blossom into the blue and purple ends that used to be part of the broken multiverse. They remain, though, now looking like promising fruit, the fruit of his labor. Loki is finally a god of stories with a glorious purpose, or really a glorious burden. He's committed himself to an eternity of solitude. Remember, Agent Coulson once told him that he lacked conviction, but he has found that conviction. He replaced He Remains automated loom with an organic, living garden that he actively tills. Rather than pruning branches, he strains to weave every vine in. He has shown that a multiverse can live in harmony, and that multiverse is alive. It can grow, adapt, change, die, and reproduce. So on screen we see
Let's
after period,
go.
which is just hilarious. Who knows
So
better? We see a new
so
poster in the
amazing.
TVA. Let's grow together, nurture our
Straight
nature for a
amazing.
stable future, with a depiction of the Yggdrasil tree with workers growing it instead of pruning branches like in the past TVA propaganda posters. Now nature and nurture are commonly seen as opposites, but here they're used in the same sentence. You'll see on the chrono monitor screen, the timeline has now been reoriented 90 degrees. So it's not lateral anymore, but growing upward, and there is room for plenty of branches. In addition to analysts and hunters, there is a new position in the TVA workforce.
My
Workers in these kind of white
God.
clothes with these white hats. They kind of look like medical workers or maybe botanists of some kind. I just assume that they're in charge of the health of a given branch, maybe tasked with finding ways to help it grow sustainably.
I
OB
drew
reboots
that
Miss Minutes. She
before.
appears from her original
Oh
orange
my
binary
God,
look to
like
her
I
person.
drew that
People don't know
exactly.
She's gonna kill them all. Mobius hands B-15 a case file.
Reports on the variants of He Who Remains.
Do any of them know that we exist yet?
Oh, I guess one of them caused a little bit of a ruckus on 616 adjacent realm, but they handled it, so we're all good for now.
Oh, baby. 616 adjacent realm is referring to the quantum realm of Universe 616, and this ruckus was Kang the Conqueror in the events of Ant-Man the
I was
Wasp
so
Quantumania.
hyped during the
By saying
Loki
they handled it,
transformation
he's referring to
scene.
Ant-Man,
Facts.
Wasp, Cassie Lang, Hank Pym, and Janet Van Dyne. Actually, those photos in the file
Facts,
show
though.
Kang the Conqueror holding out his two fists to blast the freedom fighters when he floated down on that disc from his penthouse. And then the other photo, I think that's Kang's time chair or the ruins of it. Now, the risk report form with all the text is kind of hard to make out, but at the top is a variant number and then a name and then a location and then biotemporal aura. Beside that, I think we see the word Kang in quotes, and then beneath that, powers, and then related case files with a bunch of other numbers listed. I think these might be referencing some of the other Kangs in the Quantumania mid-credit scene. The printed text shows something about apprehended for the energy surge. I don't know, folks. I'm gonna keep trying to make out what this says, and if anything big comes out of it, I'm gonna make a follow-up video. But the case file that Mobius requests shows that he is labeled variant number MFF353. M for Mobius, just like Loki's variant number is L1130, but FF353 is a reference to Fantastic Four 353 from the year 1991. This was the issue in which Mobius was first introduced as that name. Mobius tells B-15 to leave the past murals up, both
That's
the Kang
awesome.
era and the Timekeeper era, saying that those who forget the past are doomed to, you know, which is really the theme T.S. Eliot was getting at in that poem. The war room is now filled with all ranks of the TVA, hunters, analysts, engineers. So there is now another engineer beside OB. We see some judges with their sashes, we see health workers, we see Judge Gamble, as well as that sleepy judge from episode 1, and I think that is the librarian from season 1, episode 2. OB unboxes a TVA handbook, 2nd edition, crediting both Ouroboros and Victor Timely. We see young Victor Timely back in 1868 Chicago, continuing to pour wax candles, and he turns around to look at the open window, but nothing comes through it this time. So the kid gets to live a good life, hopefully as a candle maker, to bring some light into the world. Renslayer wakes up in the void. Behind her are the pyramids and the Sphinx that we saw in the void in season 1, episode 5. Remember, we're pretty sure that Sphinx has Jonathan Majors' nose and face. Under the grass is the same golden floor emblem that Mobius had just brushed his shoe across, showing the TVA emblem and for all time always. It is stained with bluish marks. Maybe it's some kind of oxidation. Either way, I think the implication here is that the void was one of the past eras of the TVA that he remains allowed to be destroyed when the loom got overloaded, and he used that rubble as Alioth's feeding ground. We see purple light flashing on Renslayer's face, meaning Alioth is approaching, and Renslayer just stares it down, not flinching. Look, folks, I have a hard time accepting this as the end of Renslayer. If it is, I just think her arc this season was really underdeveloped. Like, I thought Alioth
died. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna have to watch everything
again. To begin with. And the framing here just reminds me of the moment John Locke on Lost stared down the smoke monster, which is really the beginning of his story. But we have to acknowledge that Eric Martin did tell Cinema Blend, quote, "We approach this as like two halves of a book. Season 1, first half, Season 2, we close the book on Loki and the TVA. So if we don't get a Season 3, I'm okay with that, but I would love to see
but the
Renslayer
TVA is definitely coming back in like Deadpool and other
Mobius
stuff like
watches
that.
as his
Like, see, that was
with
that.
the kids.
I don't know, man.
Running the asylum. Okay, peace.
With the TVA under its own control, the former prisoners are running the asylum. Sylvie says,
It's weird that Loki's not here, isn't it?
yeah, but he is there, because notice how the lens flare causes this frame to be filled with green and golden hues. Mobius says he's just gonna wait here for a little bit.
Let time pass.
I love it. Mobius has been in the TVA for eons, outside of time, just kind of treading water in time. And now
So
he's gonna
heavy,
let it actually
bro.
pass and let that
So
current take him wherever it
beautiful.
goes. But you know he's got his eye on that red skidoo poking out of the garage. It's calling his name. But Mobius's words of "let time pass" echo through Loki's timeline tree. Each vine, you'll notice, is filled with different strands of colors, each representing a whole different universe, all allowed to coexist in harmony. God of Stories Loki absolutely heard the words "let time pass," and that is what he is doing. His greatest fear that he told Sylvie about last episode was being alone, but he has overcome that fear by realizing he was afraid of something else, that his friends might not have the chance to be alive and to be free. For someone who has lived centuries of life, what could be a more glorious purpose than that? The final casting director photo shows Sylvie from the train in season 1, episode 3, B-15 from season 1, episode 2, Casey from the check-in desk from the very first episode, OB from the first episode this season, Mobius from the very first episode, and Loki after he sat up in the desert back in the very first scene of the series. This show has just meant so much to me. To be able to nerd out with
that show was definitely insane, incredible. I definitely was heartbroken we didn't get to finish it together, but starting it together was amazing. There's gonna be a lot more. There's gonna be a lot more stuff that we can watch and get to in the future for sure. Man, I loved me some Loki season 2. I hope you guys loved it as well. Mobius deserved a real jet ski scene. Yo, that's true. I definitely thought we were going to get it, but I understand why we didn't. Like, I completely understand why we didn't do it. For real. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. They're definitely doing everything that they can to be a little bit more serious, you know? And I think having that jet ski scene probably would have, you know, it would have been satisfying, but I don't think it would have fit for the series necessarily. Like, I'm pretty sure that's how they felt, I'm saying, you know? So I dig it. It was just dope to see him even on it, you know? Like, it was just dope to even have that moment happen. This show did a fantastic job of just tackling every single thing that I needed it to tackle, as far as cinematography, as far as just literally everything goes. I loved it all. The sound design, the music was beautiful and incredible, and it was just so much. There was just so much going on in this show from start to finish, and it kept me. It kept me zoomed in. I was zoomed in, tuned in, and I did not want it to end. I loved love Loki season 2, and I cannot wait to see Loki and the TVA and all that again. And I know a lot of people believe that it's over, but it's really not over, because we're gonna have Loki also be in well, not Loki, excuse me. We're gonna have the TVA kind of be in Deadpool and all the stuff that's gonna be going on with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and all that stuff that's going on. So, don't you fret, because Loki, I keep saying Loki, but I mean the TVA will return, and it will be through, that type of way. And I'm really pumped to see that happen and to see that kind of play out. So hell yeah, man. Loki season 2 was amazing. I really am sad that we didn't get to experience it together, but we got Echo coming next year. It's really right around the corner, so we got Echo coming literally like a month from now, because it's the 11th of December right now. So about 33 days, I think, we'll have Echo come out, and it will be the entirety of the show. And I'm kind of thinking about doing a binge watch marathon for it, since it will be the first Marvel Disney Plus show that puts out the entire show at one time. So we'll see what goes on with that. I'm kind of feeling it. I think that's going to be the vibe, especially because I don't think we're doing any watch parties until then. I'm not sure if something else is coming out. Other than that, I think I keep missing something that's supposed to be coming out. What is it that's coming out soon? There you go. Are you going to be doing watch parties for What If? That's what it is that's coming out. Yeah, we're going to be doing watch parties for What If. I could not think of what the next thing was, but yes, it's What If. So we'll be doing those watch parties, getting it popping. I think that starts. Oh shit, is that this week or next week? Hold on, let me bring out my calendar. It's not in here. Oh yeah, on the 22nd. So yeah, that is next week. So next Friday, it may be next Friday at 6 p.m. or next Thursday at 6 p.m. I'm not sure what time they're going to be wanting to put these episodes out, because I know they put out the other episodes at a different time. So starting next Friday at 6 p.m., I guess that will take over for Superfan Friday. Well, depending on what time it is. It might still be midnight. They might put it on the 6 p.m. release. They might put it on Thursday. They might put it on Friday. We're just going to have to see what day that ends up landing on so we can get that going. But we will be doing watch parties for that and anything else that comes out around that time. Oh, Percy Jackson is coming out on the 20th, so we'll be doing watch parties for oh man, but that's oh no. Oh well, yeah, we could do that. We could do Percy Jackson watch parties and then go do Wheelie Wednesday right after. Yeah, we could do that for sure. Or that could be something that's just like record or something. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. I'm hoping what I want to do is start doing a lot of those watch parties and stuff like that, like through our Patreon, so where like you guys can join in and actually like watch what we're watching while we're reacting to it and watching it. But again, I know I've been gone for like a month because my PC was down, so we just got to get back in being consistent and doing all the stuff that we do here, nerding out with everyone, just to get everyone back on track, make sure we're back on track as well, make sure the PC is running smoothly, and then get it going, cracking, lacking, and packling. So I definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys that have tuned in today. I know it's going to take me some time to get into the algorithm again as far as it go for all this Marvel stuff that's going on. I got to get, now that we're a little bit more caught up, I'll start talking more about the up-to-date things that are going on, I guess you can say, so we can kind of get in those algorithms a little bit more with the most up-to-date news, and kind of get it going with that, and get these Marvelous Mondays a little bit closer to how the pop culture news updates were going before. And then we have Wheelie Wednesday, of course, on Wednesday at 8 p.m. and we will be doing our not watch party, but we will be reviewing chapters 1 through 6 for the Wheel of Time. So if any of you guys are book readers or anything like that, or like Wheel of Time or the show, definitely get into that, because we will be doing our watch party. I said it again. We will be doing our book club for this on Wednesday. So with all that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to be here with me. You guys are all awesome. And I hope everyone has enjoyed being vibing out with your boy today. Loki was amazing and beautiful, and I cannot wait to go to get Wheelie Wednesday and Superfan Friday popping for the rest of this week. And yeah, make sure you guys don't forget to go check out Dom's Bomb Gourmet Popcorn to get you some of the best gourmet popcorn that's always made by Dom. And then, of course, you can follow us on social media at Marvel Bros to stay up to date with all things Marvel and everything pop culture. You can follow me on social media at Sensei Finito to stay up to date with all my thoughts, theories, and opinions on whatever particular thing I may be partaking in at that particular time. You feel me? And you can definitely check out our podcast that goes up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Go check it out. Go look for Marvel Bros on there. We will be putting out these Marvelous Mondays on there by the week. So definitely appreciate y'all for vibing with y'all boy, and I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all day. And as I always say, stay awesome, stay nerdy, and don't forget to stay marvelous. Excelsior. Stay well and wait.
If you guys would like to support Marvel Bros, all you gotta do is visit our website at www.marvelbros.com and buy some merch. Represent Superfan. Or you can join our Patreon to get early access to content, Patreon streams, giveaways, private Q&As, and those sacred ones. We appreciate you guys. Excelsior.
On today's pop culture news update.
On today's pop culture news update.
On today's pop culture news update.